Hello there, everyone. Lately, I've been asked, hey man, I'm hearing a lot about tank simming. Why is this a thing? Is this a thing now? What's going on? Well, today I'm going to be answering some of those questions. We're going to be talking about the pros and cons of simming your stats as a tank and kind of how to start viewing it as a beginner to intermediate. So, number one, the first thing that you should be doing as a tank when you're picking up a new tank spec is learning how to instinctualize when you're in trouble. We've been using that word on stream. There's a Twitch link down below. And what that means is to know a couple globals ahead, to just knowing the feeling that you're coming and have developed the instinct of I'm in trouble, I need help right now. Because when you start developing that instinct, you're going to start getting a better feel towards how tanky you are with different stat weights, right? Is crit going to give you more parry or dodge? Is that going to be more or less beneficial for the content that you're doing? Is versatility my best stat? Why is that? What's it providing up until a certain point? Is it mastery? Is it haste? Why are certain stats the best that they are? And I do suggest you go to your character tab, and if you've never read what the stats do for you as a tank and your tank specialization, please go and do so. You would be surprised where you can find some synergies, but then you can start testing out different stat weights, right? We all know what the stat weights are for the people doing the most bleeding edge keys with those exact specializations. But guess what? Not everyone is doing bleeding edge keys, and for you as a tank, for the goals that you want to meet, for things that you want to be doing, you are going to maybe want some different stat weights, and min-maxing every single little percent might not be what you need to be doing or focusing on right now. You might be a very aggressive style tank whose damage is not a problem and holding threat is not a problem, but you might have gone a little bit more glass cannon, and you should be opting for some more defensive talents while playing the more aggressive play style of trying to do as much damage as possible. But just shifting some stat weights around might make you tankier and giving you the better balance. The problem could also be the opposite thing, where you are incredibly tanky, but you're not holding threat as well because you do need to be dealing more damage. The number one rule of tanking that I've been trying to teach anyone in the beginner to intermediate stages is hold threat, don't die. Perfect. Well, don't die, you need to be tanky. Hold threat, you need to do enough damage to hold that threat. So you need to find a balance. So if you're finding that you are a tank that is incredibly tanky and you need more ways to hold threat better, sim your stats. You might be surprised that you might need more crit or verse or haste or whatever to optimize some more damage so you can hold that threat a little bit better. But on the opposite end of the spectrum, if you're trying to eke out more damage and you already are a glass cannon, if you're the type of tank that jumps into a pole and then you are immediately at 20% health, you might want some more defensive stats. You might want stats that are going to help you live better, which comes from instinctualizing when you are in trouble, knowing when you are in trouble. And I use the term instinctualize, and this is kind of my example for it. I can tell you within 3 globals ahead of time on my death knight when I'm in trouble. I will talk to my healer on comms and be like, I'm in trouble, I need help. And they'll be like, what, you're fine, you're healing for like 400k, like you're literally not a problem. And then all of a sudden it's splat. Because I know when I've screwed up in my rotation, and I know when I have not pooled enough runic power that I'm going to get 1 or 2 death strikes off, but there's a big hit coming and I'm just not going to be able to top myself off, and I know the trouble is coming. But that comes from knowing your spec, knowing the stats that make me tanky, but also gaining that instinct of I'm in trouble and just knowing it for a fact. And that's going to happen from time to time, right? There's some things that hit very, very hard. There's some things that you might be used to parrying that you just didn't parry that time and you didn't have anything ready for it. So it comes from a lot of different things, but simming your character, your tank specialization is not inherently a bad thing. It's not. But it's not inherently a good thing either. You should take with that information and think about it, right? And be like, okay, what am I losing? Because every time you lose a stat or you gain a stat, you're going to gain or lose tankiness. For the most part, there are some exceptions to this, where sometimes the two tankiest stats are also the two stats that increase the damage the most. It does happen from time to time. So I don't want to say that this is, I don't want to say that it's like true all the time, right? There are always exceptions to the rule, but this is also information that you need to know, right? Don't take a raid bot sim and say, well, all right, perfect. This is everything that I need. I'm always going to be perfect. Learn to instinctualize, learn when you're in trouble, learn what stats make you incredibly tanky. And we're going to take Protection Paladin as an example here. I have friends that main Protection Paladin, and they have two sets of gear. They have a Mastery heavy set of gear, because Consecrate is Consecrate, and you want to be in it, and you gain a lot of bonuses from your Mastery, from being in Consecrate, and it makes you incredibly tanky. But Sanguine is an affix that exists, and you have such a hard time being in your Consecrate at all. On Sanguine weeks, where they just run heavy verse, and they lose a little bit of damage, they lose tankiness inside their Consecrate, but they gain a better middle ground of just not having to be in their Consecrate to gain that versatility buff and just be like, and feel like, okay. It's not the best way to go about it, but it is a way in which these people find the way they can tank the best. But that comes from knowing what your stats do, what they provide you, and how they provide it to you. Hopefully I've been clear on this. I hope you have yourself an absolutely great day and happy tanking.